Hello and welcome to the Nightmare Vault. Today we'll be uncovering the theatre.
Oh, uncovering now, are we?
Nah, I thought I'd change it up a little bit.
If you could have told me earlier, I'd have brought my shovel.
So, I guess, sticking to our sort of video game theme.
That we got going.
Found this one, as usual, sort of just somewhat at random. I think it was in one of the top CreepyPastas sort of section of the official website. And thought it looked pretty cool. That's pretty much the only reason why I chose it. And then...
Oh, yeah, this one definitely deserves to be there.
Yeah, and Briggsy mentioned, that it is pretty good. So it's got his seal of approval already.
Even though it took me a while to recognise it, but that's because I haven't seen / heard this story in a good while.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess, with that in mind, what do you remember of it?
I got it when I first, I think, heard it. I got a kind of eerie vibe from it.
Okay.
Which I think, kind of looking back on it, was probably not the quite right word to use, but good enough for government work.
Fair enough. Cool. Original author is unknown. And
I think a lot of these would be.
Yeah, that seems to be a bit of a common thread for these earlier ones. With that in mind, originally uploaded on October 10th, 2010. So
You want to get into it?
Yeah, let's go. Have you ever heard of an old game called The Theatre? Yeah, didn't think so. Probably because many say it doesn't even exist. You see, The Theatre was released around the same time as Doom. Today, if you ever find it, it's only available on crappy bootleg CD-ROMs, which, more often than not, don't even actually contain the game. The actual legitimate copies that were apparently released back in the day feature a blank cover, with nothing but the sprite of what has since been named the Ticket Taker. He is a poorly drawn, pixelated, bald Caucasian man with large red lips, wearing a red vest over a white shirt and black pants. He is completely expressionless, though some say that if you smash the disc, his face will be angry the next time you look at the cover. This is only an urban legend, of course. What is peculiar about the theatre, however, is that there is no developer named on the dual case, nor any game description on the back. It's just the Ticket Taker on a white background on both sides. The game was initially known for its inability to install correctly. The installation process would immediately lock up the computer when the user reached the licensing agreement. Also strange about the licensing agreement was that whenever the name of the development studio was supposed to show up, the text would simply be a blank line. Anyways, most people who have claimed to own one of the original CDs say that they figured out how to install the game by rebooting their computer on the licensing agreement page with the disc still inside. Following that, they are prompted to press I agree on startup before continuing with the installation. Supposedly, if a player manages to find what they believe to be a working copy, the installer window will freeze and stop responding before they can click their first next. Some also find that their PCs do not lock up, and it is only the installer that freezes. It is unknown if these effects come from actual copies or fakes, but it is widely thought that so-called working copies are illegitimate and made to draw internet attention, with no proof of the installation effects. Upon proper installation, the game will start up without any introduction, other than a main menu that is merely the sprite of a movie theatre's exterior on an empty city street. The title fades in prior to the 3 menu buttons: New Game, Load, Options. Selecting Options immediately crashes the game to desktop. Load is said not to function at all. Even if you have a saved game, nothing will happen when you press it. Thus, New Game is the only working menu option. Once it is selected, you will find yourself in a first-person viewpoint, standing in a movie theatre lobby. The room is empty, with the exception of the ticket taker in front of a dark hallway, which one can only assume leads to the theatres themselves. There's nothing to do here but look at the poorly drawn, mostly illegible movie posters or approach the ticket taker. Upon doing so, a very low quality sound clip will play, saying, "Thank you, please enjoy the movie," along with a speech box that reads the same thing. After walking into the hallway, the screen will fade to black, and you will find yourself back in the empty lobby. The rest of the game consists of you doing the exact same thing again, and again, and again. While this may sound like a tedious experience, a number of peculiar things will occur as you continue to play the game. The number of times you have to enter the hall after giving your ticket to the ticket taker before the strange events begin is unknown. Most players state that it's completely random and could take anywhere from the first playthrough to the 400th. The ensuing events, though, have deeply disturbed the players that experienced them. The first occurrence takes place immediately once the player fades back in after walking into the hallway. This time, they will notice the ticket taker is absent. The player, then without any other options, can only walk into the dark hallway again. The sound clip and text box mentioned previously still play in the absence of the ticket taker. But this time, when the player walks into the hallway, their screen does not fade out. It will turn completely dark as they make their way deeper and deeper down the corridor. But the player's footsteps will be audible the whole time. Those claiming to have played the original game report to have felt extremely uncomfortable at this point, anticipating something horrible happening. Eventually, the player is unable to continue forward. Nothing will happen for a few moments before a strange sprite that can only be described as the ticket taker, but with a swirl for a face, appears and stands before the player. The original players of the game say that upon seeing the sprite, which has been appropriately named the Swirly Headman, their bodies immediately froze up and their stomachs churned. At first, nothing will occur as the Swirly Headman stands before them. Then, without warning, a piercing screech will play as the game begins to glitch out. This lasts for a few minutes, the screeching never ceasing. In time, the players abruptly returned to the lobby, with all the sounds and graphics restored to how they should be. The game continues normally for the next couple of hallway cycles, though a couple of the original players claimed that the Swirly Headman would briefly appear and disappear in the corner of their screens, accompanied by a brief yelp sound effect. At some point after meeting the Swirly Headman, the player will see the ticket taker pacing back and forth, though there is no walking animation. The sprite's limbs are completely static, so he will just hop up and down slightly as a substitute, with his eyes wide and mouth open to simulate a worried facial expression. Some players noted that the movie posters had been replaced with images of the Swirly Headman, which caused them to immediately turn their character's head away and approach the ticket taker instead. After doing so, another different, low-quality sound clip will play, but the speech box will contain nothing but corrupted characters that cause whatever text would have been in the box to become completely illegible. Due to the extremely low quality of the sound, it is debated by players what exactly the ticket taker says at this point, though it is widely agreed upon that he warns to never reach other levels. Subsequently, the screen will fade out once again and return the players back to their starting point in the lobby. Again, the ticket taker will be absent, and this time, the hallway will be blocked by a large brick wall sprite. Touching the brick wall will immediately crash the game. No one knows what these other levels contain or how to access to them. nor is it known why the swirly-haired man causes such acute fear in those who have witnessed him. Sadly, we may never know, as all the original copies of the theatre have either been lost or destroyed. But the creepiest part of all is the fact that every one of the original players of the game claim to occasionally see a brief glimpse of the swirly-haired man out of the corner of their eyes.
And there you have it.
Interesting. It's not too bad. Yeah, it's definitely got some room for improvement. It's definitely similar to a couple of the previous ones that we've covered. I guess like it definitely obviously is very similar to Lavender Town in the fact that it's like just a narrator telling you sort of like historical events of the myth where, yeah, there's no like lead character for us to follow along with. It's kind of just like recounting. And I think that's maybe, yeah, it's more in that sort of urban legend thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I enjoy about it, is that it's kind of going for a more urban legend feel them.
Yeah. Where in some way I really like that because it doesn't sort of place it anywhere specific other than a time of like, you know, because it references Doom. So we've got to assume that, you know, it's coming out in the 90s. So, but it doesn't reference a place or like a specific country or town or anything like that. So I think that's a nice touch. And then I guess, you know, yeah, you can sort of take that and then expand on it and then put a specific character in there that we could potentially follow in a like an expanded version, which would then sort of place it specifically somewhere. Because, yeah, I think that's the only thing. And maybe it's just because we've covered quite a few of these more like recounting myths, urban legend ones, is that, yeah, it's just starting to see the commonalities and the sort of the tropes, I guess, in general from authors. And I guess that's sort of the funny thing as well, is a lot of these ones have definitely been unknown authors as well. So it's like you could almost make the argument that there is like one person writing all these same things, and each one they're sort of like developing just a different version or new versions with a different theme.
Oh, yeah. And as I said, kind of it does have a bit of an eerie vibe to it.
Yeah. It's another one is, yeah, where it's like there's no real ending. There's no real sort of like proper payoff. It's quite interesting though. I think I guess it is sort of, yeah, built up to mask the secretiveness. So it's sort of like makes it easy, I think, to say, yeah, like no one knows who the developer was. And I think that's kind of like what we got with something that we sort of criticized, is that it's much harder when you start throwing in like sort of real people and real events, say with like the Dead Part one.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, this kind of gets rid of all of that complexity, which makes it sort of hard to believe, you know, it from something like Dead Part, where, yeah, this one, it's much easier to believe because we're sort of just told, yeah, no one knows who the original developer was. No one knows really where the game came from. And, you know, you can't really get legitimate copies anymore. So there's no like way of testing it. So yeah, it's very much a time capsule sort of story that can only really exist in the 90s, I guess.
True.
Yeah, it's got a lot of good going for it, but then it's very clearly written. So yeah, you can't really sort of criticize it too hard.
Although
Yeah.
I don't really have much to criticize of it. It's a pretty good story,
Yeah.
all things considered.
Yeah, I think a really good starting point as well to expand on.
Yeah.
To be, or at least be like inspiration for someone to read and go, you know, there's something here. I reckon I can, yeah, sort of.
Actually, I think there may have been like quite a few fan sequels, if I remember correctly. But I'm not 100% sure.
I can definitely see that with this one. There, yeah, it would be very easy to do a sequel. I think there might have been at least one that we found when we were having a look for this one, that there was a official sequel. Let me just double check that. There is. So yeah,
Oh, there's a link to it.
Sequel to this story has been written. To read it, click here. the true story of the theatre.
Okay.
So yeah, there is an official sequel.
So you want to cover that next time?
I guess so, yeah. That's a good...
Let us know down below if you want him to cover it.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I guess, looking at the votes, that the sequel is definitely nowhere near as popular as the original. So it'll be interesting to see why.
Oh,
I
yes.
think.
We'll have to find out next time, which...
Absolutely.
That brings up the question, what am I going to do next time?
Yes.
I really want to get that one off my chest, but that's a bit of a long one, so it would probably take a while to come out. But I was
Right.
thinking the Harbinger experiment.
Yes. Yeah.
Although I'm thinking maybe putting that one on the back burner even longer. I think we may do Gateway to the Mind,
Okay.
which I think just tells you right there my favourite genre of creepypasta.
Right.
Although Eyeless Jack is also another good one.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I guess you're just going to have to wait and see.
I guess, yeah. Or
Either that or Laughing Jack.
oh yeah, let us know. Out of those options there, what would you like to hear next from Briggsy? Let us know in the comments.
I was to say, yeah, let's do a poll.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess to finish things off with this one, do we want to do a rating?
Oh, yeah, I'll let you go first.
Okay. I want to go a 5, but then I don't think it's... But then I don't really want to go 4.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
So, I don't know. I think I'm going to go a 5. That's what my gut's telling me. Yeah. It's good, but it's safe, I think.
I'm going to go with a 6.
Okay. Cool.
Because I personally, well, for me, it passes the vibe check.
Yeah. It's one of those ones where, yeah, it's not inherently terrible. You know, there was a few small grammatic sort of things to improve on. But yeah, overall, you know, it's good, but nothing too terrible about it.
I guess that leaves us kind of, well, nothing else to do but sign off, which you want to take care of.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us for this one. Let us know, what are your thoughts on the theatre and what creepypasta should we cover next out of Briggsy's suggestions and I guess wish list.
I was say, yeah, like 99% of the creepypastas I'm going to end up covering, I've enjoyed in the past.
Yes. And yeah, should we also cover the sequel to the theatre? Let us know in the comments down below. But if you enjoyed this one, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, share us around because that really helps. And you'll catch us in the next one.
Yeah, hopefully, unless something unfortunate happens.